Welcome to Dev Diary, the series where I try to make my own video games, and it may be like a month early, but today we're spreading the love. Now, I've got my own reasons, but really, we really should probably just round out the first month of the year with some love. So this is Breaders with a Z. The player controls a slice of bread in this top-down action game about finding a bread mate and continuing on their bread line. But no one ever said finding love would be easy, and so the player is gonna have to work for it. Now, in order to keep track of their affairs, the player can toggle an info screen that provides data on things like their stats and the current status of their potential bread mates. Speaking of which, hovering over a potential bread mate will give the player a mini cheat sheet of sorts. First is a face, which indicates whether said potential bread mate likes the player or not. This will be important, so keep it in mind. Next are the names of that bread's best and worst stats, and below those stats can be one of a few things. The first will appear if the player is liked. Now, should the player want to pursue this bread mate at another time, they can press spacebar, marking them as a bread of interest. This will also mark the bread in the game world with the same little heart. Now look, I know the implications are kind of stalkerish, but this is merely a game mechanic to make the game less tedious. Seriously, I cannot stress enough, do not stalk your crushes in real life, okay? Anyway, in order to woo a potential bread mate requires that meter to be completely filled, and there's only one way to do it: to cover that bread mate in the player's jelly. I mean, how else could a slice of bread make it more obvious? But here's the thing, it takes quite a bit of jelly, and the player starts with no jelly. So in order to get some jelly, they will have to do battle in all or nothing duels with fellow slices of bread. Defeated breads will drop their jelly, which can be collected and used as love-based ammunition. An important thing to note here is that all bread are neutral as the game begins. However, each bread NPC has an anger tolerance, and if an angry bread isn't funny enough, each NPC will remember anyone who ever makes them angry, marking them as an enemy. And should they find themselves near enough to an enemy, they will pursue them. Usually NPCs will be angered by getting hit by a projectile, and this extends to the NPC on NPC action. So yes, this is not just a player versus the world type of game, meaning brute force and pure strength is not the only way to conquer foes, if you know what I mean. And the second way that the bread NPCs may get angered goes back to the jelly. If a potential bread mate does not like the player, as the warning states, they should not be jellied. Doing so will only anger them and will eventually turn them hostile. And once an NPC goes hostile, there's no coming back. It's on site for life. Now, once a bread mate has been completely jellied, that officially means that love is in the air. The player has earned the right to continue their bread line whenever they please. And they may want to do it sooner rather than later, because there is no way to heal. Like, the player will carry their battle wounds until their very end. And so pressing E while hovered over the player's bread mate of choice will initiate the moment that we've all been waiting for: the next generation of bread. This brings up a new screen with the player, their bread mate, and 3 potential offspring called Toasties. Each Toastie, much like their parents, are randomly generated. However, these Toasties are generated based on their parents' stats. See, when a bread is generated, they are given a quality value of 1 to 100, which by the way is also reflected in-game by the color of their info boxes. The more orange the box, the higher quality the slice of bread. Anyway, it's that quality which determines the max potential for each stat row. The benefit of Toastie's inheritance, however, is that they cannot roll a lower stat than their parents, as long as they're of good quality. And so with enough time and extremely good luck, the player could theoretically roll a perfect slice of bread. I can't even fathom just how long that would take, but assuming that the math was done right, it should totally be possible. But as always, life is never perfect, and so it's very likely that one parent's weakest stat will make it very difficult to ever achieve absolute perfection. So the gameplay loop is like this dance of finding a balance that works for the player, at least long enough to get them to the next generation. Now, the final twist in this whole thing is that should the player ever be satisfied with their generational slice of bread, they can actually retire it at any time. This will do 2 things. Obviously, it'll restart the game, but not before leaving the player a little present, a little digital card of that retired slice of bread. You know, just in case the player ever wants to commemorate their achievement. And you know what? I want to see your best slices of bread. So I've uploaded a playable version of Breaders to Patreon. Yes, I am on Patreon and you can support the channel while getting access to sweet exclusives like Breaders and other content / downloads. So download the game, give it a go, retire your best, and let's see who reigns supreme in the world of Breaders. Honestly, this was just a fun project to work on and one that I had to hold back on a lot for, else succumbing to feature creep. Like for example, this almost turned into a game with factions, because the original idea was for the world to basically reset with each generation. This would also include new generations of the CPU bread, some of which would pass down their grudges / likes. But it was way too ambitious, and so as a compromise, when CPU bread is spawned in the world, sometimes they will already be generational, so not all bread is in fact created equal. And well, that was a project. So what did you think of the concept, and what do you think should be added next? As always, be sure to share your thoughts and ideas in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, and why not subscribe if you're new to the channel. But with that said, brings us to this love-infused edition of Dev Diary. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.